Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirits. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you once again for tuning in for another action-packed show this week, as this week's show topic is spiritual tools. So we're going to be diving deep into that subject matter. Also in this week's show, we have the channeling from the world of spirit, which sees me becoming a vessel in order for spirit to bring their communications and wisdom through. And then later on in this week's show, we have this week's energy forecast reading, which will hopefully help you navigate your way through the course of this week ahead. So then, this week's show topic, spiritual tools. So we're going to be looking at all the various methods and equipment that you can use in order to bring forward information, to understand the world of the unseen in our dimension, and also using these spiritual tools in order to bring forward help, guidance, wisdom, healing, information, grounding, balance. So we're talking about that today. And so first of all, I'd like to address the elephant in the room, so to speak. And what I'm referring to when I say this is spiritual tools are great. They are an amazing trigger. They're an amazing bit of kit to use. But the main focus, the purpose of using them, really, in my opinion, is just to trigger and amplify your own intuition. In other words, these tools are amazing to use. They will bring forward evidential information. They will bring forward information that will help heal, guide, and balance. But you need to first do the inner work and focus upon your senses, your own physical senses. So I'm talking about, what we all take for granted, our sight, our hearing, our taste, our touch, our smell, our spatial awareness as well. All these factors come into play when we're talking about intuition and how to connect and understand energy. So having that understanding of all of these senses that we all take for granted, and having what I would describe as a baseline. So when I'm saying that, I'm referring to a point of reference. So wherever you're at, before you're about to work in any spiritual endeavors, whether this is in a house investigation, house cleansing, or even if you're doing a card reading or an intuitive reading, always start by having a baseline. So a point of reference of where you're at in yourself. So I'm referring to how you're feeling emotionally. What are you feeling in your physical body? What thoughts are passing through your mind there? And also any unusual feelings that you may be feeling. And use that as a point of reference, like I say. And then anything above or beneath those feelings won't be your vibration. It will be energy coming in from the world of the unseen, the spirit world, information coming through for either your client or whoever you happen to be working with your particular skill sets there. So by having that understanding of yourself and how you feel in any one given moment when you're working with energy will give you that additional content and information to bring forward. So don't feel bad about bringing it forward, and don't underestimate yourself, because these are the ultimate tools, in my opinion. And I would say that spiritual tools are fantastic pieces of kit to use, but I would describe them as stabilizers or triggers, if you know what I mean. So they're there to help you. They're there to give you that confidence. They're also there to trigger your natural abilities there as well. So if you just bear that in mind before you work with any sort of spiritual device or tools, then that will give you a wonderful foundation to work from. Also, being observant. I mean, this is, again, something else that is taken for granted when we're working in an environment where there's a lot of spiritual activity, or if you're working with a client, being observant, checking out the energy around them, and noticing any shall we say, any uncomfortability, any changes in their persona, their personality, their demeanor, the way that they hold themselves, because this will be an indication as well that energy is around them and working with them. And sometimes many of you may have noticed people being overshadowed by a spirit being as well. So our observational skills and trusting what we see and what we sense are also paramount when it comes to working with energy there. So never second guess. Always say the first thing that comes to mind and what you're feeling as well. And don't be afraid to express if you're seeing somebody being overshadowed. I mean, it's not something that you would talk about on a day-to-day basis, is it there? But nevertheless, when we talk about it, we can then explore it with depth of character, and then other people can look into that particular area and say if they've seen it or not. So again, that would bring forward evidence. So have that faith and courage to talk about these things as well. Well, the first tool that I like to use personally are cards. Now, I use both tarot and oracle cards. And I like using these simply because I find them a fantastic point of reference, a fantastic trigger in order to amplify your spiritual gifts and abilities, like I've been saying there as well. And also what I do find is it's a wonderful, shall we say, tool to use when you're working with a client, simply because it helps the client to feel part of their own reading. They can actually see something. They can see the tangible, can't they? They can feel the card with you there as well. And it gives them something to focus their energy on when you're bringing forward all that information. But the information is predominantly coming from your abilities to understand what I said earlier, your baseline check. So when you're working with a card, you're aware of obviously the vibrations, the different feelings you're picking up within yourself there. And any sort of thought processes that are just leaping into your mind out of the blue. And that card will help to trigger those incidents so that you can be more aware of them. Also, cards are great tools to use because of all the symbology, all the images on the cards have a different meaning, don't they? And those of you that work with tarot or oracle cards will know that symbolisms have a meaning. It's almost like a language of itself there as well. So having a bit of a knowledge and understanding base of how to work with symbols and the different interpretations of symbols and what they could mean for your client in that moment. Because what a lot of readers, psychics, readers, whatever you want to label sensitives, will tell you is that sometimes when they're working with cards, they'll pull a card for one person and they may pull that exact same card by chance for another person and have a completely different meaning based upon the symbols that are being showed to them and the feelings that that reader is picking up around the interpretation of those symbols for that different individual. So it's very unique. I love working with cards on that basis, simply because it allows the client to be part of the reading, allows them to get involved. And again, they can see what you're talking about there. So it amplifies that energy within their reading there. But also there's other objects we can use. And I've used these, I would say, in sort of healing situations or house cleansing or even working for a client, but just to give them that additional support and information. And what I'm talking about here is the use of pendulums. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what pendulums are, basically the pendulum I use is a clear quartz crystal. It looks like a teardrop. It's that sort of shape. And then it's attached to a silver chain. And I keep this in like a suede leather pouch in order to keep its energy and vibrations clear when I'm not using it. And what I do when I'm working with this is you've got to establish a marker. So you need to, first of all, set your protection around yourself before using any of these divination tools. And then you've got to set some intentions, the way in which you're wanting to work with this tool. What is the purpose of you using that tool? If you're after definitive answers, such as a yes or no, then this is a great tool to use, because what you need to do is establish a marker. So first of all, you ask, speaking out aloud, I find, is the best situation to use crystals, because you're adding that frequency, that energy, to amplify the response there. And just observe, ask out first, can you show me your yes? Can you show me your no? And again, using your observational skills, just watch how the pendulum moves. It will either swing left or right, it'll either move up or down, or it may go in a circular clockwise motion or anti-clockwise motion. But just observe these things, and remember, when you're asking for show me your yes, show me your no, and just observe what they are. And then when you're asking out aloud questions for either if healing has been done in an environment, or on an individual, or if you're asking direct questions yet with a yes or no response for a client there, again, observing the motion of the crystal or the pendulum will actually help you bring forward some information. So it all stems back to you. You have the power, you have a controlling element there. And so it's understanding that without you doing that and having that knowledge and having that sort of clear understanding and clear intentions, that pendulum would just sit there and do nothing. So again, it's going back to what I was saying, your senses, your intuition, and having that baseline set up before you do any work will help you in all of your work with spiritual tools. Also, crystals. Let's talk about crystals. Now, crystals are very useful, as you may all know there. Obviously, crystals are great for healing purposes. You can set energy grids there for any healers that are listening. You can set these grids under your benches there as you're working with a client, and you can set them specific to your client's need, what your intuition is telling you, what sort of shapes and patterns, the organization of the crystals beneath the bench there. That can be very amplifying for your client as that energy comes through there as well. Also, crystals are great to use for balancing your energy as well. So you can do it to balance your chakra systems, maybe open them up a little bit more by placing them in alignment with your chakra system and getting those frequencies matching. And when you do that, that can take you to a different level in terms of you being more open and aware of your personal development with your mediumship or sensitivity there as well. And crystals I find particularly useful for creating harmony, creating balance as well. And I personally take a couple of crystals out with me wherever I go. And this is one of them is to do, I think it's black obsidian, snowflake black obsidian. I think that's the correct term that I take with me. And I use that as a means of protection. So wherever I go in that environment, I do know for a fact that this stone, it does help to keep, it's that extra protection, although you have to program what you want to use the crystal for. So you have to ask it. So again, it's going back to you're in charge here, and it's about you setting clear intentions. And so I take that with me wherever I go. And I believe it's called blue tourmaline. I think that's the correct term. And I use that for my throat chakra to enable me to communicate openly and freely there. And again, I use that a lot. Obviously, with the work that I do, communication is paramount in my role there. So I find that both of those, taking those everywhere I go, helps to amplify the work that I do there. But also, crystals are a great tool to have around the home. I mean, I myself have got what I would describe as a small altar. Now, this is not a religious thing in any means. It's just an area within the house that I just dedicate to where I keep my spiritual tools, such as the cards, the crystals, pendulum, and, sage and things of that nature. but it doesn't get used for anything else. It's just a sacred space just for those tools. And I keep the crystals on display, and I find that the energy within that keeps a sense of calmness and peace and tranquility within the room. And it helps me to relax as well. And sometimes there's occasions where I feel like I need a little boost, so I will look at the crystals in that area of the room, and then I'll go and pick one up and maybe hold it within my hand for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I'll find that my intuition is telling me to pick that up, because that's going to give me more balance, more focus, and just amplify me a little bit more. So a wonderful tool to use, crystals, and I feel as though I'm just scratching the surface with my usage of them. I do know that a lot of people that use them in more depth than what I'm describing to you, but they're fantastic to work with, and you'll feel the different vibrations coming from each individual crystal there as well, and what they're doing. Another thing that I would recommend is a grounding stone. Now, what am I talking about? A grounding stone? Well, for me, a grounding stone is, obviously, that I do trance and I do mediumship of that nature. So I'm going in and out of body, so to speak. So very intense work. And sometimes when you come back out of that experience, you're in that in-between state. You're feeling a little bit dazed and confused. You're not fully in your body. You're not fully aware of your physical senses, such as your sensation of touch and sight and sound and all of that. And so for me, a grounding stone is a tool that I hold on to in my hands. And I just allow myself to hold on to that, and it pulls my vibration back down into my physical body, helping me to be more aware of my now moments in my surroundings, in my physical body. And I just find it when I'm doing some really intensive spiritual work, or I've worked very intensely with either a class or a client, that when I am feeling a little bit out of sorts, I'll go to my grounding stone and just hold it for a small period of time, and this will pull my energy back down, allowing me to be in that now moment. Now, a grounding stone, it's not necessarily something you can go out and buy. You can, obviously, but for me, I actually got mine from a place in Wales, and it turned up on a beach, and I was drawn to this particular stone as I was just sat there on the beach, and it kind of called out to me. Anyway, I grabbed the stone, and as luck would have it, so to speak, as I put the stone into the palm of my hand, it fit perfectly into the palm of my hand, and it formed a curvature around my thumb area as well. So it fit absolutely like a glove, perfect. And then upon switching hands and putting it in my other hand, obviously that shape is still there. So it fits perfectly around the thumb of my other hand and into the palm of my hand there. So I can quite comfortably hold this stone with both hands in like a prayer state position, and I feel the benefit of the energy from that stone there. And like I say, it just pulls me in. So if you're wanting a grounding stone or something to do this work with you in this manner, what I would recommend is when you're out, maybe taking the dog for a walk, or you're just out in the countryside or something, look down at your feet, look down at the floor, and if there's any prominent stones or small rocks that are maybe protruding out of the earth that are they're just drawing you towards them, you just feel that energetic pull, and your eyesight cannot avoid looking at it. Well, I would say that this is an indication you need to go over to that stone, inspect it. If you feel it's right for you, then obviously collect the stone, give it a clean, give it a wash there, and then put your intentions into that stone of why you're wanting to use it. So for the purposes of this exercise, you would say, I'd like this stone to be my grounding stone, to keep me safe, to keep me protected, to pull me back into my physicality when I need to. Words of that nature. And you'll find that this is going to be an amazing tool for you when you need it, particularly those of you that go on paranormal investigations, or you work with energy. You're going to go, this will be your go-to tool. So let's move on. Some other spiritual tools are ribbons, coloured ribbons. You've heard maybe before people talking about ribbon readings. Well, ribbon readings are based around different coloured cloth or material, are based on either a ring or in a bunch. And the way that you can use these is these can be a brilliant tool to amplify your gift of psychometry and also your gift of clear sentience, which means clear sensing. So what you would do is you would allow a client to choose one of the ribbons, one of the coloured ribbons, and then you'd get them to hold it. Then you would take that off them, and then you would feel their vibration on that particular ribbon there. And it's a beautiful gift for you to close your eyes there and just focus, homing on any different sensations you're picking up. Remember me saying earlier about having this baseline check. So anything above how you're feeling in that now moment or beneath it won't be your vibration. And so you're listening for your body to give you back some of that biofeedback. And by doing this is where you'll bring forward some information, a reading, an energy reading for that client there. So ribbons, and then you would inspect the colour and you would inspect why you feel they chose that colour and your representation of that colour, what you feel it means for that client there. So it's the gift that keeps on giving, I believe, when you work with ribbons, as it can open up your sensitivity and spiritual awareness tenfold. Also, the gift of, or the spiritual tool of scrying, which is using a reflective object. Most commonly would be a crystal ball, but you can use water. You can use such as glass with a dark background, so that you're not getting any outside influences. A mirror, yes, you can use, but I mean, quite often than not, a mirror can often pick up on other things in that vibration. So I would say that scrying, the best way of doing this is either, like I say, a reflective surface that is black, so there's no other feedback that's coming into that, or a crystal ball. Now, scrying is a great gift where you focus within that instrument and you relax your vision and you just look beyond it, you stare beyond it. And as you're staring beyond it, you start to see movement inside of that crystal ball. You start to see shapes building up, symbolisms being shown to you. Now, they do come very subtly, so you have got to be paying attention. And ideally, when you do see them, is to say what you're seeing straight away, because they will come and go that fast. And with you having a knowledge of symbolism, an understanding of that, shall we say, language of symbolism, you will be able to bring forward either a message or some sort of communication for whoever you're working with. If you're lucky enough, you can use scrying as a means of connecting with a spirit being from the other side. They may even bring forward their facial features in view in the crystal ball there. So just be aware of that. Another tool that I would say that crystal balls are good for, and this is something that I work with, are banking and storing energy. Now, what I'm talking about here, we've all had moments where we feel hyperactive. We can't keep still. We keep jigging. Me being a drummer, this happens all the time. And so when I'm feeling this abundance of energy and I've got no way or means of expressing it, what I'll do is I'll go over to my crystal ball and I'll hold it, I'll cradle it with both hands, and I'll just sit there and relax and allow this excess of energy that I'm carrying within my physicality to, I have to obviously ask with intention, I'd like to bank this energy into the crystal ball until I require it at a later date, or words of that effect. And after saying that, I just allow that energy then to move on inside of that crystal ball, and you will feel that rush of energy rushing down your arms, coming out of your hands. To most of you that work with energy, this will feel almost like a Reiki feeling, like the palms of your hands getting warm there as that energy is being exchanged and banked into this crystal ball. And so once you've done that, you'll feel that release. You'll know that when it's time to go and put that crystal ball back where you got it from, in your altar, in my case. And then what you can use this energy for. So, for example, there's days that we all have where we feel lethargic, tired. We've got no energy and we just need that kick up the back end to get us moving. Well, this is where we go over to that crystal ball again. And again, we'll cradle it in our hands and we'll ask for energy to be given back to us from the crystal ball. So upon holding that crystal ball, you will feel the same sensation, but obviously in reverse. So you'll feel that warmth and healing coming into your hands, moving up your arms. You'll feel that tingling all around your body. And you'll start to feel that sort of enthusiasm, that drive coming back into your physicality there. And so that energy is then replenished back in your physical body. So it's a great instrument to use, the crystal balls, in many respects. Obviously, there's other tools that we can go into. I mean, automatic writing is a great tool to use, particularly if you're highly sensitive and you do allow yourself to become a vessel for spirit to bring their communications through. So it's almost like going into a form of relaxation, and you hold a pen and you go into a form of trance where you just sort of zone out, almost like you're in a daydream. You're just holding the pen and you're just allowing any subtle movements to occur from that pen. And these movements aren't coming from you physically. It's the fact that spirit communicator is bringing through their information through the gift of automatic writing. And what you will find at the end of this process, when you snap out of this so-called daydream, you'll look down at the page and you'll see scrawlings or handwriting in a sentence, words forming obviously a sentence there, and it will be in a different handwriting to your very own. So there's a bit of evidence straight away for you. And then when you come back into the room, this is where I would naturally gravitate to my grounding stone to bring myself back and in my present moment. I would then inspect the writing in that automatic writing and read the message. And 9 times out of 10, it's information that I have no idea of. And it would be either a message for someone within the class, within the room, or a message for myself there that I need to know at that moment in time. It could even be a passage or a poem that humanity needs to hear, needs reminding of. So automatic writing is a fantastic tool, but to enable you to get to that level, it takes a great deal of, obviously, discipline and practice, and having that trust and understanding of the spirit world and how they work with you. Obviously doing it in the vibration of love and light, peace, truth and harmony as well. It's very sensitive work, but nevertheless it's a wonderful tool, because you will find that inspiration will come through, guidance will come through, and just by you simply becoming that instrument for spirit to work through you there. You can do psychic art in a similar fashion as well. That can be very revealing, particularly if you're on an investigation. I've used this to illustrate some of the spirit beings and communicators in that environment. And again, similar technique to automatic writing, just trancing out and allowing that image to fall onto the page there by just involuntary hand movements from my spirit guides there. So some wonderful tools there that just to give you that insight, of all the things that are available to you. It doesn't matter what level you're at with your spiritual development or understanding of energy. There's some wonderful tools that you could work with to help enhance your spiritual senses and your sensitivity. Well, now we're moving into the next segment of the show, which is this week's channeling from the world of spirit, which sees me becoming a vessel for spirit to bring their wisdom and communications through. And as you probably heard me every week, this is a particular favourite segment of the show that I enjoy, because at the time of doing the trance work, I'm unaware of the information that's shared with you all for the radio show. So I enjoy listening back to it and making sense of what they're saying. And so I feel very blessed to go through this process every week. And, You'll hear me say it every week because it blows me away. The level of information that they bring through with such depth and detail, and in my experience, listening back to it gives me a greater understanding of reality and how things are working on the other side on an energetic level there as well. You know, the strings that are being pulled behind the scenes, it fascinates me. And so, anyway, so every week I sit in trance and I just sit in the peace, sit in the power, as some people say, and I allow the beautiful communicators to blend their frequencies, their energies with mine, and just having that level of trust in the experience, I allow them to step forward and to use me as a vessel, again, to bring forward their voices, their characteristics, in order to bring forward their wisdom. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's Channeling from Spirit.
We'd like to thank you for listening to every transmission that we bring through. We understand that a different communicator comes through every week, and this is part of the ultimate collective vibration. We're part of that ultimate collective vibration, and we feel honored to come through. We'd like to talk about endings and beginnings. Now, as you know, everything has a time and a place, and most of you will be experiencing a time of change and upheaval within your life, to the point where you're having to take time out of your busy schedule in order to reflect and look back upon your life and look back upon the key points within your life with a different perspective, a perspective of forgiveness, a perspective of love and appreciation and healing and gratitude. And when you go through these emotional states and these visualizations referring back to moments on your timeline within your life, it is only then that you begin to make peace with who you are as a person and how far you've come on your journey, on your pathway. It's a very rewarding, very fruitful and forgiving experience when you feel the need to take time out of your busy schedule within your life, and you'll know that it's the right time, because there will be gaps that will appear in your life to enable you to have this time that is influenced by your higher self and your spirit team, to take time out aside and do this inner work, this inner life review, whilst you're still in your physical body. You see, you don't have to be in the world of spirit, not necessarily in order to do your life review. Once you appreciate the fractals and the elements within your life path, wherever you happen to be on your life's journey, like we say, showing that level of gratitude and understanding of that situation and recognizing that that was part of your evolvement within your timeline to enable you to get to the next level of your journey. Without these little stepping stones on your pathway, none of this would have been possible. So when you go into this moment of a life review, it is a form of meditation where you find yourself just sitting, lying, or relaxing in the calm and peace and tranquility of the silence, a bit like a meditation state. And you will find that these images, these recollections from your past, will be coming forward in front of your third eye. You'll also experience the emotions that you felt during that period in your life, and also as you're reviewing the situation, you'll feel the emotions of you experience that as a viewer, as an observer, which is rather a peculiar thing for you to involve yourself in, particularly when you are in your physical body and you're doing this, shall we say, living a life review. However, it is very fruitful indeed, because as we say, you begin to show that level of love and compassion and gratitude for all of those experiences and key markers within your timeline, within your life. Also the characters and the people that were involved in your life to help you ascend to the degree and the person that you are today. At one time you would have maybe chastised these individuals, maybe have felt that they wronged you in some way, but in fact now with you doing this living life review, you're going to see things far more differently. The fact that they were key markers within your life that helped you flourish and grow. And without their involvement, which is, if when you see it from this perspective, their sacrifice with their time, with their emotions, with their energies, without any of that, you wouldn't be where you are at within your life on your timeline at this very moment. So most of you will be finding yourself feeling inspired to go through this evolutionary state of being, as we call it, the living life review. So when you feel that urge to get away from it all, to have that time in self-reflection, you could be finding that you're in this meditation-like quietness, stillness state of being for at least an hour. And that hour whilst you're doing this will seem literally like 10 minutes of your earthly time. However, the amount of healing and evolution and good that you'll be doing within that hour will be far beyond your imagination. So what we're simply saying to you is just to go with this vibrational pull and energy, and you'll find it very fruitful in the next phase of your life. As we say, we're talking about endings and beginnings. Well, this is one thing that you need to consider if you're wanting to go into the next phase of your life, particularly a phase where you're going to be blessed with the fruits of your labors, where you're going to be blessed with abundance and love, plentiful. Then you have to make peace with your past, and you have to make peace with yourself in your past. Many of you may recognize different versions upon yourself, on your timeline, and when you reconsider and evaluate who you were in that particular timeline within your life, you won't recognize that individual to the individual that you are today. And to some of you it may come as a surprise, then you will not be a little bit perplexed of how could you be that way, and why was I thinking those things, and why did I behave in such a manner, when instead of judging, you accept it for what it is and understand that that is part of your pathway, your evolution, and look how far you have come as a point of reference of allowing those things to unfold in your life. So do not judge yourself or chastise yourself in this situation. In fact, if anything, you've simply followed your bliss. You followed that alignment. Many of you will, after reviewing your life, in your living life review, will think to yourself, well, why did I make that decision? And you'll place yourself back in your, shall we say, your consciousness in that period or phase of your life, trying to assess why you made that particular choice in your life. And what you'll come to the conclusion is that you were simply following your intuition. You had a feeling, an unmistakable, unshakable feeling that that's what you had to do in that moment in time. And quite rightly so, it was correct for you. If you were to make those decisions in your now conscious reality, then of course that would not align with you, and it will seem very infantile to make those poor choices. But you see, back in your timeline, it was an evolutional state of rebellion in order for you to flourish in your future self, which is your now self, which is the point of reference we are referring to. So you see, endings and beginnings, in order to move into the next state, this is we would certainly recommend, when you feel that draw, when you feel that pull, a state that you will feel compelled to go through, and you will notice that your sensitivity will be increased tenfold. Your ability to manifest and magnetically draw the things in alignment with your life with ease and grace will be amplified. And many of you will be pinching yourself, asking you the question, well, why is this happening? why didn't this happen years ago? And our answer to that question is simply, we're not ready. The timeline wasn't right, but now it is. So embrace it as you did in your previous areas of your lifetime, and you embrace the moments. We say to you, embrace these new moments of prosperity, of beauty, of magnetic high vibrational alignment, and simply follow that inspiration as you're doing so. We understand that many of you that are listening to this topic of conversation may sound a little bit peculiar and unusual for us to come out and talk to you about. However, there'll be a lot of you that are listening and aligning with this information will find it absolutely paramount and very useful upon your pathway, particularly where you're at when you're hearing this transmission. So thank you for listening, and be gentle and kind with yourself as you go through this level of up-shifting, up-leveling in your living life review. We're now going to pass you over to another communicator who wishes to bring forward some information for you. All right, yeah, I hope you don't mind me coming through. It's been a while since I've popped by, isn't it? Yeah, anyway, following on from the previous communicator, yeah, this is something that, as they say, he was calling it a living life review. Now, as you're aware, you'll go through a phase when you make your transition into the world of light, into the world of spirit, where you'll do a life review again, and you'll have an understanding of your soul, where it is upon its pathway, and why you've had to go through the things in your life in order to get you where you are in your spirit body. This will include going back to previous incarnations and seeing their relevance and seeing their understanding on what influenced your soul and what made you choose a path of least resistance on your living life journey in all directions of time, in all, shall we say, universes, because you are multiple dimensional beings. As we've said many a time before on these transmissions, not only are you living the life that you particularly focus on within your earthly time, but also you have several, it's hard to calculate, you have thousands upon thousands of versions of yourself carrying out other choices, other variables of your life in your, shall we say, timeline all at the same time. It's far too complex for us to try and describe in this transmission, but our point in bringing this to your attention today is that this living life review will actually bring you clarity and understanding of where you're at in your life. And when you have that clarity and level of understanding, also forgiveness and peace in your heart and in your mind, then it will give you that opportunity to focus on your now moments, which in turn will help you to observe the decisions that you have to make, and you'll make more just decisions that are more in alignment with your life's calling. So that is the point of the living life review. The other review that we speak of when you make your transition into the world of spirit, into the world of light, goes more in depth, because you'll experience all those emotions and feelings and viewpoints of all those individuals that have had an impact in your life story. Also, you'll experience previous incarnations in your other timelines within your life, galactically speaking, and you'll get the bigger picture. But for now, that's what we want to tell you about. So we encourage you at any given one moment to take some time out of your busy lifestyle in order to reflect. Reflection is always swept under the carpet from what we observe you as humans. And it's a very integral, important part of your evolution. So we employ a lot of you to take this time out. It is a solo journey, so you'll find yourself taking yourself away from others in order to get this clarity and perspective, so that you'll be glad that you did. Rest assured, things will be on the up. Things will be working out better for you once you do this. So thank you for listening. we bid you a farewell, and we look forward to communicating with you in the near future. Bye for now, and God bless.
Again, as ever, what a fantastic communication there from the world of spirit. Wonderful to hear them talking about this topic, endings and beginnings. I've often considered how this would occur on an energetic level, so it was nice to hear that. And I love the fact that they term this process as a living life review, and it's something that they say is coming in for all of us around this moment in time. I'll be honest with you, I had this experience myself many weeks ago, and it was a first for me, and I found it very enlightening, very interesting indeed. And it almost matches the description of what the spirit communicator has just been talking about there. Yeah, so I can align with exactly what they're saying. Obviously, hearing them bring this communication in, talking about making peace with who you are, that's certainly very interesting, isn't it? And it's something that we all are working on throughout the course of our lives there. But being at peace with ourselves as we do this, and sort of having that level of forgiveness for not only ourselves predominantly, but also people that maybe have helped in our life, as they have been teachers and students within our timeline that have helped shape who we are as an individual in our current consciousness. So showing that level of gratitude for situations and the people that have shown up, whatever the storyline may have been, it actually adds value to the truth of who we are. So that was very interesting. And again, going in with what I was saying earlier, that I actually had this experience a few weeks ago, and it is very, very, very interesting indeed. I just felt like I needed to lie down. I wasn't tired particularly. I thought I had to have some time out. So I took myself away. I went in my bedroom and I just lay there. I closed my eyes. The next minute I was transported back to being a child, and the emotions, the visuals, the experience that I had, and the feelings that I experienced during that period of time. So I can completely align with what Spirit is saying in this instance, because it was a very profound and interesting experience, one where I had to, maybe at the time, I was experiencing the emotions I was feeling at the time, but I was observing these emotions and also the visuals there. And so I was observing them from my now moment perspective, the person who I am now, and could see the method in the madness, whereas at the time, during being a child, I couldn't. So I was showing that level of understanding, of forgiveness, of gratitude for that experience, because it has literally shaped me to who I am. And doing the inner work, obviously, as well, will help you go through this process. I love the term that they call it a living life review. And in many respects, in my experience, it certainly was. I went through every aspect of my life. I went through the relationships I'd been in, understanding them from a greater perspective there, and just showing that level of blessings and gratitude for them, and understanding why I went through those circumstances. So everything that Spirit said really aligned with me today, and I'm really grateful that they shared this wisdom with you. So watch out for this coming into your reality. When you feel that urge, take yourself away from it and just go with the flow with it. So we're going to move on to the next segment of the show, which is this week's energy forecast reading. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's energy forecast reading for the week commencing Monday, the 24th of July 2023. Now, those of you that watched me work before will know that I connect with my spirit guides and helpers, and also consult the wisdom of the angel tarot cards. So what I'm about to do is just shuffle the cards and observe a card coming out at random for this week's energy forecast reading. And right on cue, one has just done that, so I'll just get the card for this week's. Okay, so here is your card for this week's energy forecast reading. Linking into the energy of this card, I feel as though there's going to be an uprising of energy within yourself, almost a level of hyperactivity with you. and that you are to use this energy to your advantage. So any projects that have maybe been on the back shelf or in the back of your mind, this week would be a great time to take advantage of that abundance of energy in order to get those projects and things moving underway there. This is why this energy is coming for you. Also, notice your sensitivity expanding. Now, when I'm saying this, I'm talking about you making your decisions from your feelings, from your heart this week, more so now than ever. You're going to be what you would normally consider in your mind as that a bad decision. You're going to trust these vibrations more so this week because it's going to be so overwhelming to the point where you cannot ignore it any longer. I'm also feeling that this week it's time to also take that pressure off yourself. You've been trying to work things out and trying to unpick all the details, all the elements within your life. And this is causing you to have head pressure, head pains. And it's the universe's way of letting you know now it's now time to just release that. Having to know the wheres, the whys, the whens, the wheres, the whos, let that go to the universe because everything is coming into alignment for you. But you've got to move out of your own way in order for this to flow into your present moment consciousness. You'll also feel a little bit tongue-tied this week around certain people. Their vibration, their energy will make you feel nervous and less adequate than what you normally are. This is because there is an underlying energetic mismatch. So be aware of this and don't be intimidated by it. Keep your cool and keep communicating your truth. Even though it will feel a little bit difficult because you feel like you're being judged as you're opening up and communicating, nevertheless, you are to trust that inspiration that's coming through and speak your truth anyway there as well. There is an urge as well to be more creative this week, whether this is in connection with any artistic endeavors, whether that's drawing, creating things out of fabric, singing, dancing. It could even mean gardening for you. Whatever it is, you will feel that creative energy come into the foreground. And again, this will go in alignment with what we were saying about this abundance of energy coming your way this week. And it is to your advantage to use it in a positive direction. Can I also say that this week will see you feeling a little bit dizzy and a little bit out of sorts? This is nothing medical, may I underline. This is simply your vibration's heightening and you're playing catch up with the energies of the universe. And the reason why that you know it's this is because you'll start to observe synchronicities happening within your life. In other words, you'll think something and then not too long after that, that will start and show up in your life. So watch out for more of these events happening in random occasions for you this week. There's also going to be a need for you to readdress transportation this week. Now, with me saying this, I feel as though either some repairs or some sort of additional finances that will need to be put aside for transportation. So please watch out for that this week. So I'm going to turn the card over and go through it with you. So at the top of the card there, it reads 2 of Forces. So I'd like to give you the angel number of number 2 to research, as there will be an additional message for you should you choose to do that. Forces, to me, 2 of Forces. Forces represents trusting your vibrations, your feelings, the feelings of the heart that we've mentioned already, and also that thought vibration, your mind kicking in, trying to take you away from the feeling, from the truth of the situation. So watch out for this tussling occurring this week. Obviously, it's your decision, your choice, which one to follow, but it will be a juggling act. And for some of you, it will come really easy to navigate your way through this. For others, it will feel quite difficult, quite a strain, and you'll feel a little bit indecisive as you go throughout this week. At the bottom of this card, it reads the willow. Now, to me, that represents the willow is very flexible. It goes with the wind, it moves with the wind, and it's just generally very flexible throughout the seasons of its life. And so it's telling you to do the same thing. Remain flexible. Don't be rigid, because when you become rigid, then you will miss opportunities. You will also have that inability to recover from situations that are going to be unfolding for you this week. The key to this week is to simply go with the flow and don't let any energy stick to you in the point where it's going to weigh you down, where it's going to overwhelm you, where those thoughts are going to kick in and maybe make you that indecisive level that we've already mentioned. So the key to this week is remaining flexible as well. Also, looking into the artwork of the card, we've got the color of yellow and orange there, more predominantly yellow. So that's telling you to trust your intuition. The feelings that you get from your stomach, your solar plexus there. Be aware of those butterfly sensations occurring when something positive is entering your life. That level of excitement there is going to be expanding for you this week. And this is a definitive marker, indication for you to take note and follow suit when you feel those inclinations there. Looking also into the artwork, we've got the color of blue, which would indicate a stronger form of communicating with your emotions. Again, we mentioned earlier about you having to push through, even though you feel a little bit uncomfortable around certain individuals. You need to continue to be your true, authentic self and express that the best way that you can. So don't dilute your authenticity for anything or anybody this week. Keep keeping on. In the artwork, we've got this beautiful stream there that's flowing. Again, we've got this tree there at the side of that. The waters, the flowing waters, indicate you going with the flow. Again, not remaining fixed or rigid in the way that you navigate your way through this week. Also, it's telling you to watch for your emotions rising up to the surface and allow them to flow through you. Again, rather than holding on to vibrations, onto thoughts, onto feelings that are no longer serving you in your current reality, just let them go. Otherwise, if you allow them to have space in your energetic or mental capacity there, you will find that this week will feel a little bit of a struggle for you because you'll be going against the tide there. There's something about also within this image there, there's a bank, a river bank there, something about your finances this week. You need to keep your eye on them and also just be a little bit more sort of frugal with them and be more selective about where you're going to invest and where you're not going to invest. And this can be something as minuscule as buying your weekly food shop. I feel that this week will see you being a little bit more mindful where you're putting your energy and your money on this week. There's a lot of beautiful shining light moving from behind that tree there. So that would indicate that you're going to be influenced throughout this week with positive vibration. So it's up to you to listen. Again, going back to that intuition from the stomach area, the solar plexus, and this will navigate your way through this week. There's a bird in the background there. To me, I'm being told that is a wood pigeon. So if you can research the animal totem of the wood pigeon, that will give you some additional support and information. There's a beautiful countryside setting as well, which would also indicate you getting out and about in nature, reviving and revitalizing your energy this week, just to clear those energies that may have latched onto you. So that's what I've picked up for you for this week's energy forecast reading. I hope that resonates with you. Thank you for hearting, liking, commenting, and sharing. If you've enjoyed what you've seen on here and you would like to buy me a coffee, which is simply a virtual tip jar, all your donations will be gratefully received and will be used in order for me to continue the work that I do, helping as many people as physically and spiritually as possible. Also, if you've enjoyed what I've done on here today and you would like a private reading with myself, head over to my website, www.glenboddicespiritualmedium.com, or find me on Facebook, Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. In the meantime, see me on my show or hear me on my show every Monday, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on www.pulsetalkradio.com with my show From Beyond with Glenn Boddice, talking about all things spiritual, paranormal, and self-help. In the meantime, have a fantastic week. Bye for now. Well, it sounds like we're in for an incredible week again this week. Again, interesting to hear about that tussling between our head and our heart. And I'm sure this is something that we all do at some period of our life. Maybe it's time now to snap out of that habit and just go with the flow, trust those vibration feelings that we're picking up. If you have any show suggestions, any ideas, or if you have any stories to share with the show that you'd be happy for me to read out on the show, please contact me at www.glenboddicespiritualmedium.com or at glennboddice@live.co.uk. In the meantime, have a fantastic week, whatever it is you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you same place, same time, next Monday. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium